A Florida man takes off his pants and touches himself in front of a bank. A Florida bill will allow teenagers to work overnight hours on school days. A Florida man is accused of trafficking drugs with his kids in the car. And a Florida flight attendant is arrested after attacking someone with a beer bottle at the Funky Buddha. These are the weird stories for Friday on Weird AF News. They're all from Florida because on Friday, in case you don't know, I only do weird news from the state of Florida. We call it Florida Friday on Weird AF News. Here we go. A Florida man is charged with exposure after allegedly touching himself in front of a bank. This story is out of a place called Margate, Florida. It's my first encounter with Margate, but it's typical Florida man behavior. According to the arrest report, an officer observed a man later identified as Chase Kaplan, age 33, star of our story, the Florida man, with his pants down outside of a bank. He was, how shall we say, pants down and excitedly manipulating his genitalia. And who can blame him? Have you seen these Wells Fargos these days? They're extremely sexy. I get it. Those ATMs, my goodness. I mean, that just really gets me going. The report has some more details here. The details here that are going to shock you. Apparently, the Florida man was only 50 feet from traffic during the day. Multiple vehicles observed him in the act. So he's a bit of a exhibitionist as well. Let's keep reading and find out if the Florida man was at least allowed to make his deposit before the arrest. Now, upon questioning, the report shows that Kaplan admitted to wanking, but reportedly explained that it was no big deal because he, quote, finished quickly. Yes. It's no big deal because he finished quickly. What's the big deal? It wasn't like I did it at a stoplight. It was just on the sidewalk. I finished quickly. What's the big deal? It wasn't like I shot a customer with it. I mean, I don't understand why I'm being detained. It was over really quickly. The one time you hear a guy brag about finishing quickly, here it is. It's so good. Not only does Florida man do the strangest behaviors, but they also have the strangest reactions, too. They're so funny. The Florida man was arrested, obviously, taken to the Broward County, Maine jail. And I don't know what's worse, being arrested for a public jerk session or the entire internet knowing that you finished quickly. A new Florida bill will allow teenagers to work overnight hours on school days. A year after lawmakers relaxed Florida's child labor laws, a divided state Senate on Tuesday gave initial approval to a measure that would further roll back work restrictions for children as young as 14. The proposal sparked heated debate, with critics of the plan saying it would lead to exploitation of children and proponents calling it a parental rights issue as well. Now, for some details of the bill, it would do away with restrictions on 16 and 17-year-olds who would be able to work more than 8 hours a day on school nights and over 30 hours a week while school is in session without mandated breaks. In addition, the measure aims to remove restrictions for 14 and 15-year-olds as well. All right, and so America continues to move backwards in time. You gonna build some sweatshops while you're at it? Yeah, tonight we're gonna party like it's 1899, guys. Let's bring back the factories. Drop off your kids and let them work overnight. You'll pick them up in the AM and drive them right to school. Is America great again yet, guys? I'm waiting for it to be great again. Get ready for the Apple documentary on trafficking kids to Florida for slave labor enterprises. Wow. I mean, it makes sense, right, guys? It makes sense. The immigrants are stealing our jobs. Let's deport them. Okay, gee, we can't seem to fill these low-income jobs now that the immigrants have been sent away. What do we do? I don't know. How about we bring back child labor? Oh, that's great. That's a good idea. All right, back to the article. We have Senator Carlos Smith of Orlando said this bill could allow employers to force young people to work long hours or risk being fired. He suggested that the changes are being floated to help fill employment gaps triggered by the state's crackdown on illegal immigration. Yeah, you're probably right. He also questioned the rationale for allowing children as young as 14 to work overnight hours on a school night. Yeah, Carlos. Anyone with an average working brain is wondering and questioning the rationale for allowing children 14 years old to work overnight hours on a school night. It's like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm late for algebra class. Yeah, I just got off my shift driving for Amazon Prime. But you're only 15. Yeah, I know. They ran out of drivers, so they're letting some of us kids do it. We have another lawmaker here, Senator Tracy from Jacksonville, who's outlined some potential problems if this bill goes through, such as sleep deprivation, academic decline, and increased pressure on students who are working to help their families financially. The senator says, quote, "This bill takes away basic safeguards for the children." Oh, come on, Senator. You know what they say, old enough to screw, old enough to crew. So I don't see the big deal. By the way, these Gen Zs are pretty soft, right? These kids need a little factory employment in their life. Something like a coal mine would do them good, right? Would you want to see them working in a sweatshop in their sweatpants? Yeah. Could you work a coal mine in Crocs, I'm wondering? Oh, you gotta love Florida, don't you? They take books out of the school libraries because they're afraid of 14-year-olds reading about boobies, but yet they don't mind if they work the third shift at the pill factory.
Your data is like gold to hackers. They're selling your passwords, bank details, and private messages. McAfee helps stop them. Secure VPN keeps your online activity private. AI-powered text scam detector spots phishing attempts instantly. And with award-winning antivirus, you get top-tier hacker protection. Plus, you'll get up to $2 million in identity theft coverage, all for just $39.99 for your first year. Visit McAfee.com. Cancel anytime. Terms apply.
A Florida man is accused of drug trafficking with kids in the car. A Florida man in Putnam County is facing some charges of drug trafficking after a traffic stop with his children inside the car. Deputies say Florida man Thomas Carpenter, star of our story, was arrested after a traffic stop. A passenger told them they had just smoked marijuana. Who's the passenger? One of the kids? And why would you say that right up top? Do you know how fast you were going? We just smoked marijuana. Why would you say that? I have drugs in the car. Oh, sorry. I mean, we did not smoke marijuana. We're just taking the kids to pickleball. The deputies say Carpenter kept falling asleep while they were talking with him. Falling asleep at the wheel, Thomas Carpenter, Florida man, star of the story. With your kids in the car? Deputies say they found baggies of weed, baggies of crystal meth, and other illegal items inside the car. You mean contraband? You mean drugs and drug, say it with me, guys, paraphernalia? I'm going to guess they found tons of paraphernalia. Let me look at the picture. I like looking at pictures of drug paraphernalia. Ooh, look at all those baggies and drug paraphernalia. That looks like spring break to me. All right, back to the article. They found all of these drugs and paraphernalia in the car and Carpenter's children. Oh, well, guys, single parenting is difficult. It's even more difficult in Florida, as you can imagine. Now, Carpenter gave the deputies no choice but to arrest him for all of this. Investigators say after his arrest, the Florida man told the deputy, quote, "There's nothing wrong with drugs." There's nothing wrong with drugs? What are you talking about? Did I break the law or something? I thought this was America. Isn't this America? What's wrong with drugs? There's nothing wrong with drugs. You hear that, kids? If someone tells you there's something wrong with drugs, you tell them Daddy says nothing's wrong with drugs. My daddy says nothing's wrong with drugs. I even heard him tell the police there's nothing wrong with drugs. So he's committed. All right, it says here, Carpenter, the Florida man, also violated his parole when he was released from prison December 2024 after serving a 3-year sentence. Still has custody of the kids, it would seem. Well, I mean, let's not assume that. We can't even really assume these are his children, can we? Did they do a check on that? Oh, we got a picture of the Florida man at the bottom of this article, and I'm so glad they saved the best for last. This guy has... He's got the Illuminati tattoo on his forehead. You know the one? I think it's the Illuminati tattoo. It's the pyramid with the eye in the middle. That's Illuminati, right? Who knew the Illuminati was alive and kicking in Florida? You know, with a side hustle, of course. A flight attendant was arrested after attacking someone with a beer bottle at the Funky Buddha. Stories out of Oakland Park, Florida. We have a violent confrontation at the landmark brewery Funky Buddha, which ended with a flight attendant under arrest. I kind of wanted to do this story because I just want to know what the Funky Buddha is. I've never heard of the Funky Buddha. It sounds like a funky place that I would enjoy. Oh, they have a website, thefunkybuddha.com. It's a brewery in Oakland Park. Oh, it looks like they're hiring 14 and up. Just kidding. Well, it is Florida, though. You can't put it past them to put a 15-year-old behind the bar, I'd imagine. Okay. Wow, they got cool logos. Look at the cans are dope, too. They got nice, wow, very, very cool branding. Love it. It says here the Funky Buddha began in 2010, starting from humble beginnings at a small brew pub in Boca Raton, built off passionate people and sketchy Craigslist ads. We were tired of the standard beer offerings, so we took matters to our own brew house, whipping up unconventional yet exceptional ales and pushing the boundaries of social norms. They got a lot of events at the Funky Buddha. Seems like a cool place to hang out. Kind of place you might get struck in the face with a beer by a flight attendant, though. Let's get back into those details because, Florida's going to Florida. When a Broward sheriff's deputy arrived at the Funky Buddha Brewery bar, he said Annie Flaherty, age 36, claimed that her boyfriend had beaten her up. Annie told the deputy that her boyfriend, quote, made a joke calling her a junkie, and that she took the joke personally and began to cry at the Funky Buddha. She then claimed her boyfriend beat her up, leaving bruises. During questioning, Flaherty's boyfriend told a much different story. He admitted calling Flaherty a junkie, but then he said she responded by pouring a beer on his head. The boyfriend claims she then grabbed a glass beer bottle from their car and hit him on the side of the head, which the arrest affidavit said was likely to cause death or serious injury. As a result, our Florida woman Flaherty has been charged with aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. So a beer bottle's a deadly weapon, guys, if you strike someone in the head, just FYI. She was booked into the Broward County Jail. The affidavit listed Flaherty's employment as a Spirit Airlines flight attendant. Hey, right? If you're going to guess what flight attendant attacked somebody with a beer bottle, you're going to probably guess Spirit Air. I feel for her, though. It's got to be rough working for Spirit Air. Can you imagine being a flight attendant for Spirit Air or a crew member? Just a crew member in general these days, it's been rough stuff. I've covered stories on this podcast, flight attendants being bitten, crew members being wanked upon. So, maybe she is a junkie as a result of all of this. Hey, whatever gets you through the flight, it's all right, as they say, right? And I assume she might lose her job at Spirit Air, although they seem a little lax on who they hire, so maybe she'll keep it. If she loses it, though, don't worry. There's some 15-year-olds that would likely fill in for her. There'll be 15-year-olds flying the plane pretty soon.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hey, everybody. How are you? This is your host, Jonesy. Thank you for spending some time with the Weird AF News podcast, this Florida Friday episode. Thanks to my listeners and supporters who sent me Florida stories the last couple of days. That was very nice of you. Made my job easier, so I just want to let you know that I appreciate all your efforts. You can always email me stories to funnyjones@gmail.com, or you can slide them into my DMs on Instagram at funnyjones as well, if you'd like. If you want to support the show, please visit weirdafnews.com, where you can buy me a coffee or join the Patreon as well. That's a cool thing to do. I want to give thanks and praise to someone who left me a very lovely review on Apple Podcasts. The review is by H.H. the Great, and H.H. the Great, I would like it if you read this on the podcast. That's the title of it. Okay, I'm going to read it on the podcast. This podcast is so funny. I'm really glad you're still doing it all these years later, Jonesy. I'm 13, but I've been listening to episodes since 2020. And let's do the math here. 13, been listening since 2020. You've been listening since you were 8? Wow. 8-year-olds listened to this podcast at some point. I'm very surprised by that, but I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I don't know. Anyways, let's keep reading. I've been listening since 2020, and I used to and sometimes still do listen to your podcast while I play Fortnite. And I sometimes listen to it while training for soccer as well. Thank you, and good luck with your life, man. So, very, very nice review there on Apple Podcasts by H.H. the Great. So shout out to this young individual. I'm always surprised when I find the young people listening to the show. It's because I just don't think it's for young people, but apparently it's for some young people. And anyways, that was really sweet. If you guys want to leave me a review, it's always helpful, and you can do so on Apple Podcasts and Amazon as well. If you leave me a review, send me a message. Drop me a line and tell me that you did so I can go find it and read it on the podcast and give you some love. You deserve love for taking the time to write me a review. I want to give you that love back because I'm very grateful when you make the effort to do such a thing. Because you don't have to write a review. No one told H.H. the Great to write this review. H.H. the Great did it out of his or her love for the show. So I'm so grateful, and I want to give credit where credit is due. Anyways, I'm rambling. Ramble on. That's right. Okay, well, listen, I hope you have a nice weekend. Please message me and let me know how you're doing. And visit weirdafnews.com, the official website of Weird AF News. Good luck with your life, man.